What's up, guys? Rich Schneider right here of the Night Report. I'm joined by Chris Nowalski, and we got a special guest today. We got former Rutgers and Delaware quarterback Blake Rankin. Blake, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me.
Yeah, there's not many Rutgers to Delaware connections out there. So, you're also, I don't know if you know this, you're like our message board's favorite quarterback still.
Oh, God. Well, the backup quarterback is always the favorite one, right?
Hey, that's how it works, man. But all right, let's jump right into this. You originally committed to Greg Schiano, I believe. He left midway through, or I shouldn't say midway, I guess the January, whatever it was, signing period.
Yeah, I want to say it was probably a couple days right before signing day.
So let's jump right into that right away. I know you were one of the mainstay guys that stayed committed. I know you, Denman, Moeller, all them. How tough was that?
Yeah, it was very challenging because the reason I would say I went to Rutgers in the first place was because of Greg Schiano. He was just an amazing recruiter, amazing guy. You could tell he had something special going on at Rutgers at that time. They had some great teams when I was in high school. Being recruited, and I think, I could be wrong, but I want to say I was one of the first guys in the class to commit. And over time, you go to a lot of schools and you see a lot of guys, and I had built a strong relationship with guys like Chris Moeller and JJ Denman and Brandon Archidiacono and Derek Nelson, guys like that. Just had a really good relationship, and so that kind of on top of Greg Schiano, it was something I was excited for, and definitely excited to play for Greg.
Yeah. Oh, obviously, that didn't happen. You played for Kyle Flood for a couple of years and transferred. But going back to recruiting a little bit, I think Angelico.
Yeah, Brian Angelico was who recruited my area.
He was your main recruiter. So tell us the craziest recruiting story, whether it's Greg or Angelico or some other team.
Gosh,
you don't have to name a coach if it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It's funny. A lot of those recruiting trips, they can get wild, and you're trying to get some of the top guys in the country to come to your school. But I committed early. I committed my junior year. Greg Schiano had us sold from day one. So it's funny, once you're committed, and they take care of you, but they're not doing anything crazy with you. I'd say they get you on campus and they show you all the great things, and that's a lot of fun going out with the guys and the current players, and you have a blast there. But I don't really have any crazy stories for recruiting. But
all right, so
yeah,
you mentioned that Greg Schiano kind of sold you on the program. What was their recruiting pitch to you?
So the recruiting pitch was, I'm from Jersey. This is where I am. This is where I'll always be. You referred to Joe Paterno. He's like, hey, look at him. Joe Paterno, who's been at Penn State like his entire career. Like, that's what I want to do here at Rutgers. And when he speaks, you believe every word he says. And and when things come up, like the offer he got to go to Tampa Bay, how do you blame a guy for wanting to further his career? I totally understand that. And but it was definitely frustrating and kind of disappointing for a lot of us recruits, because that's who we committed to play for. That was the guy you wanted to play for. And I struggled with it for a little bit. It was kind of frustrating that he recruited me. He was the guy I wanted to play for, and boom, he's gone. But so you do a lot of thinking, especially when he's gone, and you look back, you're like, oh, why did I go to Rutgers? And then you see him come back to Rutgers, and the excitement and the energy he brings. It's like, that's why I committed to Rutgers. Yeah. It's a bittersweet feeling, him being back at Rutgers. It's exciting. They look good. But yeah, it was, and Kyle Flood was a great coach. He and there was a lot of guys left over from the Schiano era. So it was awesome going to battle every day with some of those guys like Logan Ryan and Duron Harmon, guys who are still in the NFL, and being able to play against them in practice. I really had a lot of fun with that.
So you mentioned the Flood era. Tell us a little bit about practice during that. Like, any crazy things happen at any of the training camp practices, anything like that? There's got to be something.
I'll tell you. So my freshman year, I'm on scout team, offense, quarterback, obviously.
Never would have guessed.
We were in the bubble, and we were just, scout team was just lighting up this defense, and this defense had Kasim Green, Duron Harmon, all those guys I talked about. They had some great players, and we're just lighting them up. And I don't wear a red jersey as a scout team quarterback, and
There you go.
I think they finally just got fed up, and Booker, one of our linebackers, he just came up one play and he just put the crown of his helmet right in my Adam's apple and just dropped me. And I was like a little bit of a message, like, hey, calm down. But that was one thing I think about, just with practice with Flood. But I mean, playing with those guys was awesome. The level of competition was just amazing. And
so going based off that little story right there, I told you this before the video started. I know you're our message board's favorite quarterback still to this day. So are you saying that if you would have played a couple snaps, something would have happened?
Hey, you never know. You never know. I mean, college football, especially as a quarterback, it's a lot of, being at the right place at the right time, the right system that fits you as a quarterback. And, unfortunately, it didn't go the way I would have liked it to go. But, I really did enjoy my time there.
Sure.
Had a lot of close relationships. And I really did enjoy the staff while I was there.
Yeah. Do you still follow Rutgers now closely?
I'll tell you, I did not follow Rutgers probably for a couple years after I left.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not true. I followed when they, when I was still playing, I'd keep an eye on them. But then I kind of stopped following them. And then when Greg Schiano came back, it was like a little bit of excitement, like, excited to see what he can do at Rutgers, and if he can get them back on in the top 25 and just keep getting better, because he's really an amazing coach. And I try to go on and check out some of the highlights just to see how they're doing. But it's I'm definitely getting more involved in watching Rutgers, and hopefully this would have been the best weekend for me to come back and go to a game, but now that'll have to wait.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, you kind of just said you watched during the Flood era, you kind of skipped that era that no one wants to talk about. And then you're back as a fan again. Yeah.
It's, I mean, it's exciting to watch, especially, like I said, from my experience with committing to Greg Schiano.
Yeah.
Like you always wonder what it would have been like. And, he's the reason you go there. And then you see him come back and you're like, all the excitement, like, it's cool to see that excitement around Rutgers football again. Like, I think I saw something that the first game was sold out, and then they had to be better. But like that's cool to see, because that's how it was when I was being recruited. So
yeah, of course. So now, what do you call it? Do you still talk to any of the coaches or the coaching staff that you've or even any of the players, I guess, at this point?
Yeah, so I still talk to like Chris Muller, JJ Denman. I talk to those guys all the time. Brandon Archidiakono. I talk to him, and Derek Nelson. I still keep in touch with those guys. Obviously, as life goes on, you're not talking to them as much as you used to. But like Chris was up, I want to say, it was last November maybe. He came up to where I live, and he did a little hunting with his brothers and his brother-in-law. I think both of his brother-in-laws, but yeah, he came up and hunted with them, and so I got to catch up with them for a night, hang out with them, and kind of shoot the breeze and talk about the old times. But
hey, that's awesome, man. There's got to be a crazy story between you and this offensive line group. It seems like you guys were all like kind of pretty tight. Yeah, it doesn't have to be Rutgers way. It could be off campus. Something might happen. You never know.
It's funny. We became, really tight, because we're all from Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So we're going on these, college trips, these, visits every year. And, we're, I don't know, sophomores, juniors, we're going to Penn State, Michigan State, all these different places. And like, we always found ourselves like close together, like at these trips. None of us were committed to Rutgers at the point, but we just always kind of stuck together and talked. And I think when I committed there, like, I pushed hard for those guys to come with us. And you look at, some of the guys we had in that class. I mean, Darius Hamilton, Leonte Carew. We had some really good guys in that class. And there's part of me that's like, if we would have played under Schiano, like, you always wonder what would have happened.
Yeah.
But now, they always would, give me crap for leaving. Like, you pushed so hard for us to come here, and you're the one leaving. Like,
yeah,
I get it, but at the same time, you want to play football. Like, that's what we all do. We want to come to college and we want to play. And it's hard as a competitive person to sit on the sideline and just be fine with it.
So I know you kind of just went over how tough it was to leave, but you obviously reunited with Dave Brock over in Delaware. So how was that? And I guess how was your time at Delaware? This is also a Delaware preview show too.
Yeah. So when I left Rutgers, it was important to me because, you went through a school where, football didn't really work out. And You know, it's kind of not close to family, not really close. So to me, it was important when I left to be at a program that I, you know, was going to love. And like, if it didn't work out, like be in an area where I'm close to, you know, family and I have that and I like the school. And so, and then the other thing too is just looking at like tradition. Like I wanted to go play for, you know, a very good D1 AA program. Because at that time, if you went to, you know, say another D1A program, you had to sit out a year. And so right away, I knew I was going down a level. But you look at Delaware, I mean, they're very, you know, tradition rich football program, university. And then Dave Brock, who I had worked with, you know, at Rutgers, he was the head coach there. It was something I was comfortable with. You know, so when he went down there, I think, you know, I got offered by JMU, and they were bringing in a kid from Georgia Tech, Badley was his name. So he was committed there here, or he was already there for a year. And so I looked at it, I was like, I'd like to stay away from that, you know, and go into Delaware. I mean, it's close to family. It was a great school, great program. They were putting out top quarterbacks every year. I mean, with Pat Devlin and Joe Flacco, and, you know, they have Rich Gann, all these guys. So it was a pretty easy decision for me, I'd say, to go to Delaware, especially with Brock there. And I really enjoyed my time at Delaware. Unfortunately, you know, you look at Delaware and you got, you know, 7 national championships. You got all these top level, you know, quarterbacks coming out and players in the NFL. And it wasn't like that when we were there. I mean, we struggled a little bit. So it's unfortunate, but to be a part of that type of program is still, you know, something I'll cherish, and to be a part of that community is awesome.
Yeah, so obviously, you know, nowadays, you know, Rutgers has the facilities that, you know, back in the day when you were there, didn't have the new practice field or anything like that. You know, how would you compare, you know, everything at Rutgers to Delaware when you were both places?
So actually, when I was getting recruited by Rutgers and then everybody else, so you're going on all these college visits, Rutgers had the nicest facilities out of all the schools I went to at that time. And I think that was a lot of Greg Schiano, you know, kind of being ahead of the curve. And
sure.
But now I haven't been back to Rutgers, but, you know, you see pictures online and they look awesome. And I mean, in Delaware, when I got to Delaware, it was very basic. I mean, it looked like a high school locker room. We had a small little weight room. And I think, you know, at that time when I'm leaving Rutgers, you know, I've already been to most schools that, you know, they show you all like the weight room, the player lounge, the locker room, all that stuff's awesome. But me being through that experience already, like that didn't mean anything to me. It's still the same amount of weight. You know, it's still a locker room. I think it's great for recruiting. You know, high school kids are really into that stuff, and it's cool. And I think it's actually gotten insane, the amount, just how the schools are like, the locker rooms now, it's ridiculous. But it was definitely a lot different. But then it's funny because I leave Delaware and they get brand new facilities and they do, you know, an addition onto their stadium. And so I was just there at the wrong time. But yeah, I mean, it's a little different. Rutgers was definitely the facilities, and just that level of football, the facilities are way nicer than, you know, other than like, I think JMU's got awesome facilities. I don't know if you've ever seen those, but I mean, that's one school that I would say is comparable to a Rutgers or a big time, you know, program.
So let me ask you this, going back to Dave Rock a little bit. I know he was the offensive coordinator your 2012 season at Rutgers, I believe.
Correct. Yeah.
I know there was a ton of complaints between all the fans about that offense. I think you guys only averaged like less than 20 points, around 20 points per game, is like 100 in the nation or something like that.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about his type of offense? Was it just extinct, or like?
Yeah, I mean,
was it just the evolution of the spread kind of at that moment?
Yeah, at that time the spread was becoming a big thing. And he was very, you know, pro style. And to be honest, I mean, he was a great coordinator.
I know you can't say much. You had him at both schools, so it's tough.
Yeah, he was a good coordinator. He's a great football coach, and I mean, especially, I mean, he coached some of the best receivers like Jordy Nelson, all those guys, and you know, he had some good receivers at Rutgers. But yeah, I don't really know, you know, what the deal was, and it's easy to, you know, watch the game on TV and, you know, have everybody complain and say, you know, he should have done this, should have done that. But I mean, we had a good offense, and you know, sometimes looks great on paper, and the players, we just weren't executing it, or there's a lot of blame to go around for how things end up sometimes.
So going back to your scout team days, you were talking about them before. You went against the best of the best, and when it comes to Rutgers, and Kasim Green, Deron Harmon, Logan Ryan, whatever.
Yeah.
Who's the best player you either played with or played against at Rutgers?
Cool. Best player I played with.
I know there's some young bucks that came in your class. Obviously, they're pretty good, and then obviously the older guys you talked about a little bit.
Yeah, I want to say honestly, at least from an offensive side, like Leonte Carril was one of the best receivers I've been around. Just like the way he was able to create
Cop out answer.
Yeah, I mean, he was. I mean,
Got
he
good
just
though.
create separation, and you could throw it up, and he was going to go get it. He was just a smart player, and he was a big guy. Like he was good. He was a really good player. Not that
No, I got
that's a simple question or a simple answer, but
is there another guy that people just don't talk about that like you saw and you're like, holy shit, this kid's good?
Oh man, I mean, there was a lot. I mean, it's funny. PJ, he was a great running back, and like when my first year, like we knew, when I was on scout team stuff, and like he wasn't really playing at that point, like.
Yeah.
We all knew he was going to be a great player, or he was a great player at that point, and he showed that himself. I mean, over time, but I just remember watching him run, like, wow, this kid can play. And,
so you're going to be a scout in the future, pretty much.
What's that?
So you're going to be a scout in the future, pretty much.
Yeah,
because it sounds like you found him before anyone else.
Yeah, right.
Hey, I'm just saying, man, it might not be a bad gig.
Yeah.
But going along with that, what are you up to nowadays?
So I work for a medical device company.
All right, quit and become a scout.
What's that?
Quit and become a scout.
Yeah, about it. Yeah, it would be fun to get back into. I don't know if my wife would love me traveling the country, but yeah, we just had a little baby girl, so
congrats.
Enjoying that.
Yeah, congrats.
Yeah, thank you. So it's crazy. I mean, it doesn't feel like that long ago, but I look. Chris just had a little boy. That kid will probably be a Division I football player. Wife's
yeah, he'll be molding them into an offensive line.
Yeah, and his wife was a D1.
Oh, right.
So at Rutgers, So
look at that. Good for him.
It's wild. I mean,
yeah.
So really doesn't seem that long ago. Now we all have kids, and we're growing up.
Do you still have anything to do with football at all? Like you still like go watch games, I guess, or anything like coaching wise, volunteers?
So I'll help out like local with like some of the kids. Some of the quarterbacks, I'll go down in the summer and help them out and just run them through some drills and stuff I learned throughout college. But it was such a big part of my life for such a long time that I've kind of taken a step back and just kind of like to enjoy it from like a distance.
Yeah, I totally get that, man. Chris, you got anything else real quick before I get up to the predictions and stuff?
Yeah, so I was gonna ask
making you do one, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. Obviously you played for both teams. They play each other Saturday. Who are you gonna root for?
Oh, so I graduated from Delaware, so I got to root for Delaware.
Oh,
I know. I'm gonna catch a little heat from that from my friends, but my friends at Rutgers. But it's just being honest.
You know what? Let me go back real quick because I just remembered this. Chase Dodd and Gary Nova.
Yeah.
I don't know how close you are with these, but you're gonna have to answer this one honestly. Who's better?
Oh boy.
I know you saw both of them kind of in their like prime area, I guess, junior, senior year.
Yeah, it's that's a tough question because they both had flashes and they're both different, types of players. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's a
come on. You got an answer.
Yeah, I don't know. It's yeah, I don't know if I can answer that one.
Yeah.
That's a tough question. They both were good at it. I think Chase was a little bit more of a mobile quarterback and could get out of some pressure, but with that leads to trouble. And I think Gary is may not always seem, but he was a pretty smart player, conservative player. They're just different styles. Sometimes.
Gotcha. So Chris, anything else before these predictions?
Yeah, speaking of Chase Dodd, he's on the Rutgers staff now in the strength and conditioning department. Did you ever kind of get a sense that he would get in that type of field after after his playing days were up?
Did I think Chase would?
Yeah.
No, I was, I will say his energy that he has and like just the kind of personality he has, I could absolutely see him as like a strength coach and just, jacking people up and, getting them ready to, go to war. Like he has that kind of personality. But, when he was playing, he wasn't like, the biggest, like, strength guy, I guess.
Right.
I mean, he was a strong guy. Don't get me wrong.
He's ripped now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
He's big.
He was strong when we played, but he was, I don't know. I could have seen him going and being like quarterback's coach somewhere because I know that's, a big thing in his family. But I would not have ever guessed that he would have gone and been a strength coach.
So I think I'm not 100% sure on this one. Look, correct me if I'm wrong. Charles Scharf. He was there at Delaware with you, correct too?
Correct. Yeah. So he came into Rutgers.
How the hell did he make the NFL, man?
He's a good player.
I thought he was a good walk-on, but I didn't see it. And then all of a sudden transferred, and I'm looking the other day. I'm like, Baltimore Ravens, what the hell?
Yeah. So he was good friends with like Chris and JJ and all those guys. So
okay.
When I was at Delaware,
mm-hmm.
So my first year at Delaware was his first year at Rutgers, and mm-hmm. They'd always talk about him, like, oh, he's a good guy, like you'd really like him, like he reminds us a lot of you, and so one day right before training camp, I find out Charles Scharf's coming to Delaware.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh wow, finally get to meet this guy. They talked highly about him, and actually, our first game together, I threw him a touchdown pass.
Oh right.
So in the back of the end zone, he went up and snagged it. So it was kind of cool. Two guys from Rutgers transferred to Delaware. First touchdown pass.
Hey, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, he was a good player.
Yeah, so I know looking back, you got to explain to me what happened down in Delaware, because I know the first game, I think you earned the job in preseason, it looks like, or what I read at least.
Yeah.
And you started the first game, then the second game there was a switch, and then they lost the next 5. Coincidence or?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's like I said, being a quarterback, a lot of it's being in the right place at the right time, and being in the right system, and you got to do what you got to do to win games. Unfortunately, we weren't the strongest at wide receiver, and I was more of a passing quarterback than I was a running quarterback. So I think they had to make a difficult decision and go with a running quarterback over a passing quarterback, and that was kind of the direction our offense was going to go. So yeah, it's unfortunate that it happens, but there's a lot of positives that I've taken out of college, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I mean, it was a great experience, and things happen, but it is what it is at the end of the day.
So is there anything you kind of regret or would look back and be like, damn, I wish I did this differently, or I did this differently? Or
no, the only thing, I look back and not really regret, because it's not something I can regret, but like I just really look back and wish like I would have played for Greg Schiano at Rutgers. I'm always curious, how would things have gone?
Yeah.
He's a guy that recruited me and brought me in. Like that means a lot for a quarterback to be recruited by the head coach, and he was just such a great coach. So I constantly wonder, what would have happened. But yeah, and I oftentimes think like, oh, should I have, bailed last minute and gone to another school or something? But like, that's not, I built these relationships with these guys at Rutgers that I was close with, and we stuck together. And Kyle Flood was a great, coach, and a lot of those guys there and the people they were left over from the Schiano era.
Yeah.
So it's, I really don't have any regrets to the way things went. Obviously, I wish they would have gone, better than they did, but it was a great experience that, I'll carry with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, when you talk about, what if Schiano stayed, a lot of fans talk about that all the time. What if he stayed, where Rutgers would be right now? Obviously, I'm sure they'd still be in the Big Ten, but in terms of, bigger bowl games or championships or something like that. So, was it tough to transfer for you? What was that, making that decision like for you?
Yeah, it was very difficult, and I struggled with it, that whole off season. I was like, I want to give spring ball a go and just, but the writing was kind of on the wall, and that was hard for me as a competitor to be standing on the sideline getting limited reps. Like, I want to play football. I came here, I came here to get an education, number one, but I also came here to play football. And the competitive side of me would not, allow me to. But then there's the other side of you build so many strong relationships, and you have so many great people within that program who are under the Schiano staff. And, there's things you think about, like, do I just try to stick it out and, graduate and then transfer and have but there's so many different ways to do it. But at that time, what was most important to me was getting in a program where I was going to have an opportunity to play. And, Delaware is not, far down the road from Rutgers. So I was still able to keep that relationship and see those guys from Rutgers and, stay in contact with them.
So let me ask you this. When you were at, or what advice would you give like an incoming quarterback for Greg Schiano and Rutgers? I know you didn't play for him technically, but you you met the guy. I'm sure you built a heck of a relationship with him.
Right. Yeah. For an incoming quarterback, I mean,
because there's a kid from Pennsylvania that joined the team. I want to say last Greg Schiano's first class back in Evan Simon. He's also, so I'm just curious, what advice would you give him?
Yeah, I mean, if he's already there on the roster, or he's had
Yeah, he's already there on the roster. I think he's a freshman technically because of the new rule where last year didn't count and blah blah blah.
Yeah, it's all stuff I didn't have to deal with. But yeah, no, I mean, honestly, just tell him that, soak up as much information as he can. I mean, he's literally with one of the best coaches in college football, and I truly believe that. Soak up as much information as you can. Just give everything you have every day, and just be an open book. Be willing to learn. Even from the guys ahead of you. I mean, that's the one thing I'll say. When I was at Rutgers, and I think it's probably a culture that Greg Schiano created, but I could go and talk to Chase Dodd or Gary Nova or Mike Bomani or anybody about like, it was just a very good quarterback room, very good relationship where, I could learn from them, they could learn from me, or, you're just able to have that open dialogue and learn from one another. And that's important. I think sometimes, kids go in there and they're like, oh, it's competition, I don't want to give anything away, or I don't, it's kind of a little bit of tension, but at the end of the day, the best player is going to play, and you got to take all the information you get, and you got to learn from guys that have been there, and especially somebody like Greg Schiano is going to put a great quarterback coach in your room. So that's really the advice I would give them.
I'm trying to think who was the quarterback coach back then. I don't even remember.
When I played.
Yeah.
Boy, Rob Spence we had.
Oh wait, hold on, time out. I want to hear about this one. I heard, didn't he quit like mid-season or something?
No, he was let go, and then we had Ralph Friedgen was there.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
There was a lot, and then we
got to start with this the Ralph Spence thing. We got to start with this. How was he as a coach? Because he looked like he just collected a paycheck and left.
Yeah. I think he was a decent coach. I mean, he was when he was at Clemson. I forget who he was at Clemson, but they were really good. So he constantly was like back at Clemson, and we were constantly watching, Clemson film, and it was funny. It was always talk about Clemson, and this is what we did at Clemson. It was all the time. So it's like, yeah, we get it. You were good at Clemson for 1 year, but he was a good guy. He was always having us over, keeping the room close. But yeah, he was in and out. And then I don't know, Rob's what's his name?
He still coaches now.
Was there.
Yeah, I just looked it up. Rob Spence is still a coach today.
Well, he went to coach a high school, I think, when he left Rutgers. Like,
I thought he quit. I thought he was just got off and just left and was like, all right, I'm done. I got my paycheck. See you later.
I think he went to go coach like a big time like high school program after Rutgers.
He's the OC at Georgetown now. Holy shit.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Figure. I don't know how, but whatever.
Yeah.
And anyway.
So what was Ralph Friedgen like? I know Rutgers put up a lot of points that 1 year with him. What was he like?
Yeah, he was fun. I mean, he was hilarious, but he had some good teams at Maryland. I mean,
did he bring him up all the time?
Not really, but he was kind of like a terrifying guy. Like, he would light you up. You messed up in practice, like oh boy, he would light you up, but he was hilarious. I mean, he was just a good guy to be around in the room, and I think a lot of people respected him, and but I had actually left while that spring he was the OC there, so, and the quarterbacks coach. So I didn't really get a full season with him.
How was he, like, X's and O's wise? Like, everyone I've talked to just seems like the guy is a genius when it comes to that.
Yeah, no, he was great. I mean, it's funny. It's like you have so many coaches. Like, I had so many coaches in college. I learned so many different offenses, and they just blend together. But yeah, he was probably the best one I was with. But the other one was Prince. Do you remember Prince?
Yes, Rob Prince. Yeah,
he was really, I thought he was really good.
Really,
he was probably my favorite coordinator I had at Rutgers.
Interesting.
He just had some good schemes, and he was, sharp with everything he did. And he expected a lot out of everybody, but he was also a guy you go, sit down and talk to and have a conversation with. And he was just very approachable. He was just an all around, great guy. And I think now he's in the NFL coaching somewhere.
Yeah, I forget where he's at exactly.
I think he went to the Lions right after Rutgers.
Yeah.
And I know Dave Brock's he's with the Falcons, I believe.
Yeah, I think he's a receivers coach now. I think he went with Flood originally, and then I guess Flood got his old job down in Texas now. So
yeah,
or Alabama, then Texas, whatever it was.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, other than I guess going back to the Fridge Prince thing, how would you or even Spence too? How would you compare the three? Is there like a major difference that made one stand out more than the other, or was it just mostly just different schemes? And
yeah, I mean, it was all the offenses, and they're very similar. There's different things that you do, different formations and different things that you get into that just make them a little bit different. But for the most part, they were all very similar. I would say Prince and Friesian, those guys were very like in your face, like just like high intensity, high emotion guys. Spence was a little bit more laid back, a little bit more like I'm disappointed in you rather than I'm gonna tear your head off.
Gotcha.
That kind of guy. But that was the major difference, and a lot of those guys, other than I don't know really what happened with Spence, but a lot of those guys, they left for basically promotions, or they went to take a job that was better for their family, or just better for them overall. So
give me an example of what Fridge would say to you, of yell at you, I should say.
Yeah,
without getting, I guess, I mean, hey,
so he
there's no rules on this.
Was my sophomore year. We were doing like a walkthrough. I made the wrong mic point, so protection for the line, I made the wrong mic point, and he just mother effed me, up and down. He's like, I told you, like, get the hell out of here. Like, it was just okay. And as a quarterback, like, that's not what you want to be thinking of. Next time I walk up the line, like, I wasn't really thinking like, who's gonna, who are we blocking here? I was thinking like, I better get this right, or I'm gonna get, decapitated by the Fridge. So
that's funny.
Yeah, it was.
So let me ask you this too. Going back to Flood, I guess, a little bit. You had him for 2 years as your head coach. What would you say the biggest reason was for him not being successful? Was he like a player's coach? It seemed like he was pretty cool with like most of the guys, at least.
Yeah, it's it's hard for me to say like what it was that because I didn't play for any other college coaches other than him and Brock. Really, I didn't have a great career at either one of them as far as wins and losses. But you look at my freshman year, I mean, Big East and winning the Big East, and there were some great players, but do you look at that and say, was that just left over from Shiano, or because I think Flood really ran it similar to how Shiano had it, but and he absolutely was a player's coach, and guys loved him, and he was great. He was another guy that was very approachable. You could go talk to him and just about anything that was on your mind. And I really, enjoyed playing for him. Although it's not what I committed to as far as Greg Schiano, I enjoyed playing for him, but it's hard for me to put a finger on, why he didn't have the successful teams that he had, because he had a lot of talent. But I think, that was, if I'm not wrong, that was his first time being a head coach in a big time, program. I think that's a lot to, a little bit different. I think he was the offensive line coach under Schiano, and that's a big jump there. And there's a lot of things that you juggle. And, he's a great coach. You talk to guys just around college football, like he's one of the best offensive line coaches in the country.
Yeah. I mean, hey, he was at Alabama.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's hard. I can't really put a finger on what it is, why we weren't successful, because we had the talent. And it's just,
yeah.
So kind of along those lines, who was your favorite coach, either at Rutgers or Delaware, and what made them your favorite?
And don't take a Dave Brock cop-out answer.
No. No, I would say, so Brian Ginn at Delaware.
Okay.
He was a quarterback at Delaware also. And I want to say, I forget who he competed against but he had a similar situation to me. I think he ended up winning the position, but like through those hard times you go through as a quarterback with competition and just all that, like he was always the person I could go talk to and, just have those conversations, because he was a guy that had those same experiences throughout college, and he was able to relate to them. And it's very rare to find, or have a coach in your room that's had those same experiences. So, I built a great relationship with him throughout my time in, college, and just had a lot of respect for him and really enjoyed being in that quarterback room with him. So he was, absolutely like probably my favorite coach that I've, worked with or played for.
Interesting.
But, Rutgers wise, oh man, I want to say
Rob Spence.
No, Prince. I think I really enjoyed playing for Prince. There was something about, I don't know what it was, but he was just a good guy, high energy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was probably my favorite at Rutgers.
So basically, based on that, it seems like Prince got a lot of bad flack, like just for being the offensive coordinator at Rutgers. It sounds like a lot of fans just weren't fans of him.
Yeah,
struggled obviously the 1 year is there, but
right, yeah, it's hard too, because you run through these offenses and everything goes great, practice good, looks great on paper, like you watch film of other teams doing the same exact play, it works for them, and it just sometimes it happens. I mean, sometimes the players execute or sometimes they don't, but no matter what, it either comes back on the quarterback or the offensive coordinator, and then ultimately the head coach. And it can, I know up in the New York, New Jersey area, like those are some tough fans.
It's
tough fans.
It's not easy.
It's fun though.
Yeah,
a lot of passion up there. So
I mean, unless I got nothing else, unless you got a really crazy story you're gonna tell us, but I
got no crazy story. Yeah, I have no crazy stories.
The Marvin Booker one's pretty good though. I'll give you that.
Yeah, he
So what was your favorite food to eat at Rutgers? Favorite restaurant or anything in the area?
Oh, here we go.
Favorite food. Well, I will be careful. When I left Rutgers and went to Delaware, like that was bad for me, because like there's no food in Delaware compared to what you have
Sure
up there. But is it one of the buffalo chicken crisp from, where's that from?
Hansel
and Gretel.
Yeah.
That's my personal favorite from there.
Yeah. I made, so shortly after I left Rutgers, well, it might have been a year or two. My wife was studying abroad. She flew into Newark, so I went to go pick her up, from Delaware, and I made sure to stop and get Hansel and Gretel, because that was like the best. But there was another one. There was a pizza place that I loved, and I can't think of it. They had like a Nutella pie. It was over. Geez, I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of this place.
It's not PJ's, right?
What's that?
PJ's?
No. It
Um,
burned down, actually.
I
The
can't
one that
remember.
burned down.
I have no idea, to be honest.
I'm not sure.
I'll get yelled at for this, but I don't eat pizza over there.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm never. The only place that we like over there is like what, that Mancini's is pretty good, but that's kind of far.
Mhm.
Is that it?
Mancini.
Oh, all right. There we go then.
Yeah, Mancini. Mancini and Hansel and Gretel. Those are my two
Nice.
spots I go to. And that barbecue place is pretty good in town.
Oh, that one's closed already. It's a beer garden now. It's
Wow.
it's an interesting beer garden. $2 Tuesdays. I don't know, but I know.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
$2 mixed drinks every Tuesday, man. You can't beat that.
Hey, it's probably completely different since last time I was.
Oh, it's you would probably be shocked. I'm trying to think. When's the last time you were over at Rutgers?
Yeah.
Probably 2013, honestly.
Damn. Okay. Yeah, you're
'Cause I, went back, not 2013. I left in 2013. Probably 14 or 15, because I went back and would just do the guys occasionally, but nothing really changed at that point.
Yeah. Oh, you gotta come by at least once and check it out. I'm sure Greg would obviously let you on, no problem.
Yeah. He it was funny. His son played at Bucknell.
Yeah.
So Bucknell's just like 30 minutes down the road from where I live.
Okay.
So my brother-in-law played for Bucknell, and the one day, I got to see him. He was up there watching a spring practice, and we went over to watch him, and he was up there. So it was kind of cool to see him.
Yeah.
I think at that point he was with Ohio State, or maybe in the middle of like Ohio State and Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was cool. And it's funny. They always talk about Bucknell, and there's a lot of guys that coached at Rutgers from Bucknell.
Oh yeah, Joe Susan.
Joe Susan's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stapleton went there.
I forgot about him too, man. I guess he was a coach, I guess, when you played, right?
He was
Or assistant, GA, whatever.
Yeah. But then he went to Bucknell, but it's so funny because it's 30 minutes from me in the middle of nowhere. So I always found it interesting. But
there you go. But have you talked to Greg at all, or you don't talk to him? I guess really that much ever since.
No, he.
What about Flood at all?
No, I haven't. I honestly haven't talked to any of them in a while.
Right.
Really Flood maybe since I left.
Wow.
But
it's crazy.
Yeah, those guys, they meet so many players. They have so many players and so many recruits, and
of course
their lives are crazy busy. And
oh yeah, I'm sure. But you got anything else, Chris? I know I keep asking you, but I ran out of questions like a while ago.
No, I think I'm good.
All right. So last one. I know you're picking Delaware, obviously, but what is the score?
Yeah, so I was thinking about it. I mean,
unless you rethought, if you're rethinking it, it is.
Well, he said he was rooting for Delaware. He didn't say he was
sorry, rooting for Delaware. It's a number 6 FCS team, Delaware.
Yeah, they got some good players too.
No joke.
Rocco came up from Richmond, and he's really turned that program around.
Yeah, no, he's legit.
But it's a difficult one for me because a year ago I would have been like, oh, Delaware's winning, like 30. But I mean, you look at Shiano, like they look good, and like he's a great coach, and it's hard to bet against him. But
yeah,
gotta stick with my alma mater. I'm gonna say Delaware 24 and Rutgers 17. So I think it'll be a close.
You think they're putting up 24 on?
Delaware's got a good quarterback.
Hey, no, I don't doubt it. I watched the film a little bit on him. He's I hate the comparison people give him, but he's so Johnny Manziel-esque. Like he reads the defense, reads the pass rush pretty well. It's impressive.
Yeah, and those players, they're hard to contain because he can run in. He can.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I guess that's all we got. Obviously, I'm just gonna say it. I'm picking Rutgers. I think I got them like 35, like 10 or something like that. I'm not confident. The kid's good. I really think they hold like that first half together, and then I think the trenches are just going to be destroyed for Delaware at that point. But
they gave Pitt a run for their money last year, though.
Did they? I didn't know that. Yeah, that's interesting.
Almost pulled that one off.
They beat Jacksonville State last year, and look what Jacksonville State's doing now. So
I know. There's always those games you're like, wow, who they won. But
they said I think there's like 8 FCS teams that beat FBS teams this year already. So it's possible. It's not crazy.
For sure.
But all right, I guess that's all I got. Chris, anything else? You want to throw a prediction in there?
I'm not sure what my prediction is, but obviously, I'll pick Rutgers. I'll go, I don't know, 31-13.
Oh, okay. So Blake's just really far off. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
But no, Blake, I appreciate everything, man. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for
hopefully we can get you back on here soon. Talk a little more stories. Hopefully, interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I'll have to think of some.
I want to hear more about this defense and how they're cracking the scout team left and right.
Yeah, that was a quick lesson.
Yeah, I'm sure that was you're welcome to college moment. I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, thanks again, man. I appreciate everything.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.